Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Coon. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. Today, we're revisiting a conversation from 2008 with filmmaker William Hellmuth. At that time, William was an emerging talent, and since then, he has significantly advanced his career in the film industry. William has worked as a director of photography on projects with high-profile names and brands such as Zach King, Terry Crews, Tony Todd, Manscaped, NERF, Honda, and Listerine. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. Let's jump back into time to 2008 and let the younger version of myself introduce you to William Hellmuth. And today, I speak with William Hellmuth. He is the director and creator of the Black Dawn series at webserials.com, a really cool sci-fi suspense thriller web series that goes for 24 episodes, and it's going to hook you right in the beginning, and you can't wait to the end. Luckily now, you can watch all 24 episodes at your will. I had to wait each week patiently for that episode to appear. So go to webserials.com, check it out. But first, listen to our conversation. Enjoy it. I had a really good conversation with William. Enjoyed every minute of it. Only problem was I was a little sick. Excuse some of the questioning and my voice. Other than that, enjoy the conversation. Thank you, William Hellmuth, for joining me on Conversation with Coon. It's a pleasure to have you on there, and it's not really a show. It's just really, it's more like a memo for me to, pay attention to some things that some of the people who I've recognized online and out in the world that are doing things that I really appreciate and enjoy.
Cool.
So, the first thing is obviously, the Black Dawn. Can you just tell me how you came up with that concept?
Well, kind of a funny idea. Myself and Brian Walton, who, I don't know, you've seen Cataclysmo, the other web series.
Yes.
Yep. He played Johnny Zanzibar. We were going to the movies to watch I Am Legend one night, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. I was just saying, I've always wanted to do a post-apocalyptic film. It'd be awesome. It'd be really fun. And then he started talking about how an old college professor used to always say that, she didn't understand why people didn't make movies set in college campuses or students because, it's so much easier because you have all your resources right there. And we weren't students anymore, but we had friends who were students, and so we kind of got thinking like, hey, we should make a movie at a college campus, because we could totally bum off of our friends. And and then kind of jokingly I said, post-apocalyptic film set on a college campus. And then we just kind of actually started going from there. And then the next day I called up Abe Sherman, and we had a meeting for about it was nearly 12 hours straight.
Wow.
Yeah. He came over in the morning to my apartment, and we started talking, went late into the night, went out, got dinner, and went to a bar, and over a pint discussed, the story. And we met for about 12 hours, and then we went and talked to Josh Sikora the next day, because I had guest directed some of the Cataclysmo episodes and assistant directed the series, and went and talked with him about the idea. And 2 days later, Josh, Brian, Abe, and I met, and we outlined the whole 24 episodes and just kind of went from there.
Man, that's impressive. I mean, it's just, it went from like an idea. After you spend 12 hours, you got to be like, all right, look, we're going to get this rolling. I mean, you got to know what's going to happen after that.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of funny. I always say this about my movies. Like, I always have a film that I think I'm going to make, and then last minute, suddenly just something will pop up real spontaneously, and then suddenly, I'll make that instead. Like I had even, with when we first started writing The Black Dawn, we were actually planning on, myself and Abe, we were planning on writing another web series, and we had already kind of taken some preliminary steps with casting and all that kind of stuff, and then suddenly The Black Dawn came up, and we were just like, we'd rather do this, and just kind of dropped the other one.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty fun.
So, but
and
you knew right away you wanted to do a web series.
Yeah, that was, I had actually never been too keen on the idea of making web series until I had lunch with Josh one day, and he asked me, well, he just kind of talked about his whole idea with web serials, and at that time they were going to be making Cataclysm, and he asked me to assistant direct, and I kind of thought, assistant directing, like, I can do it, but it's not a lot of fun. I don't really get much out of it unless I'm getting money, which, I wasn't going to be. So I figured, like, as payment, let me guest direct some of these episodes. And so he was like, oh, okay, cool. So I guest directed some episodes, and I guess it was just I never realized how cool doing a web series was until we came out with Cataclysm, and suddenly this film that I had made with friends was being watched by, thousands of people. Whereas in the past, films we had made and tried to put into film festivals would be watched by,
a dozen.
a dozen, several hundred if we're really lucky,
Right.
And it's just like, we might win some podunk award somewhere or something like that, but really, it was. I realized suddenly that by putting shows on the web, I could, it was really easy to build an audience. So yeah, that's what really kind of turned me onto the idea.
Well, you guys did a really good job because, I mean, obviously you thought about it. You could tell by watching that you had a lot of thought into each episode because you hooked. I mean, every episode at the end hooked. You had to come back and see the next one. And
cool.
And it was really cool to see from like early on. I think I started in week 5. I came across it, and so I watched the first 5 right away. And I was just like, oh, cool. This is really cool. But I mean, here are some things that popped out to me about it. Like the music you guys had, the score was really a key. Like it really grabs you like through it. I mean, it's the emotion throughout the whole thing. Who designed that?
That was, there were 2 composers on the film actually, and I was really happy with that experience. One of the composers had composed all of my previous films. His name was Curtis Schweitzer, and he's real talented. Like we went to school together, went to college together, and made our student films together. And then the other one is also a really good composer, but I never worked with him before, Jeff Swingle. And for this film, we figured we'd want a couple different composers because, since none of us were getting paid, and our composers had full-time jobs, we figured it was just going to be too big of a load, too heavy of a load for one person. And they just did a really good job. I talked to them from the beginning about like just the design of the soundtrack and how one of my pet peeves is with indie soundtracks is when composers try to use synth and try and pass it off as real instruments.
Right.
And it kind of just not always, but a lot of the times it just sounds corny and doesn't really quite work. And so one of the first things we talked about was wanting to just use synth and use noises that couldn't be made by real instruments, and just really kind of go crazy and have a sort of slightly industrial feel to everything in the music. And so that was pretty cool. They definitely set a good mood and tone for the whole show, and they just did a fantastic job. I was really, really, really blown away with the soundtrack. Yeah,
it's interesting when you find, because I know some people right now who are putting together short films or even films that they find like these graphic artists who work in a corporate gig, who are just so talented, and they're like, I'll donate my time just to be in something creative. And it's a great honor, to have somebody jump on board because they want to be, creative where they don't have that output at work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do have the output, but not the creative where they can express, I mean.
Oh, no.
That's
fun.
It's
different. Like, I film, I work with film, for a job, or not film, video.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different, because in my job, I'm not doing the creative stuff that I want to do. So a chance to do these independent films like this, I mean, you can get artists, like, people just kind of come out of the woodwork, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Really fun.
So, tell me about the concept. I mean, you did just say post-apocalyptic. Sorry, it's like I said, too many drugs in my brain. Medication, not like recreational drugs. It's like over the counter. That'll give me cancer in 20 years. How the hell did you get? I mean, first of all, you got the campus. What campus was that?
That was we just kind of walked on campus and filmed. So.
Oh, that was kind of silent right there.
Yeah. Well, actually, not quite. We did that sometimes, but like, I would a lot of times contact, like, we're going to be shooting in a dorm.
Right.
Contact like the RD, and I'd be like, hey, remember, we're going to be shooting this film in the dorm. Don't freak out.
Did you shoot a lot of that out of sequence?
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah. It was way out of sequence. We split up the shooting into 2 main weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The first week being like mid-spring, and we shot the first 16 episodes in 8 days, which was killer.
Yeah.
I never want to do that again. It was horrible. we shot the first 16 episodes, 2 episodes a day. We tried to do some things for saving time, like 2 camera setup, but that wasn't even every day because I couldn't really get a second camera up for every night. And so, sometimes I'd get someone to come out and run a second camera, which saved a lot of time. So we did that the first week in spring, and then we edited those first 16 episodes over the summer, or at least rough cuts, assemblies of them all. And then in the fall, we shot the last 8 episodes, and we had 9 days to shoot those last 8. And you can actually really tell, like, when you watch the last 8 episodes, like the production quality, I guess just how well everything works. In my opinion, it all kind of like goes up a notch, which is, I guess, good for the end of the film. You kind of want everything to flow better and be cooler in general. So yeah, worked out good. Oh, the first week, this was one of the other reasons we shot in the spring, and we kind of tried really hard to get this, so it worked out really good. When we shot in the spring, we shot over spring break.
Gotcha.
And so the idea was to have an empty campus so that, for one, we wouldn't have to deal with too many people just, running around ruining our shots. And secondly, because everyone had died, so we could just have a nice empty space.
Well, you pulled that second part off really well, like throughout the whole the web series. Like it felt like everyone was dead. And to pull that off, I mean, this was something that you pretty much, I'm throwing words in your mouth, but was this something you had, this was a no budget kind of ordeal?
No budget. Our biggest expense was easily just, getting food for the cast and crew. We had like an enormous cast. So biggest cast I've ever worked with, which was also a huge challenge, but huge cast. So that was easily our biggest expense, was just getting food for everyone. Our budget was something like $1,500.
Wow.
So yeah, it was just ridiculously low. But actually, the cheapest film I've ever made. So.
Jeez. And were you employed throughout this whole time?
Yep. We'd shoot all night, then I'd I'd come back home, I'd, you know, kiss my wife as she was walking out the door and going to work, and then I'd catch a few hours of sleep and go work for 4 hours. I got my boss is really cool, and he likes me to do these creative outlets of mine, and so he let me decrease my work hours almost to half during the weeks we were shooting. So that was good. So I mainly, you know, sleep during the mornings and then go in and work for the afternoon and then go back and shoot all night.
And that support system is so crucial into having a, you know, that helps out so much.
It does a lot. Yeah.
And I don't know if you know anything about, you know, I'm not the main part of it, but what Blake, Micah, and myself did with Dogs of Chinatown, which was a feature film we shot, and we shot it in 27 days, but it was, I mean, ultra low budget. I can't talk about the price, but but it was ultra low budget, and pretty much Micah did everything. I mean, he shot it, he was doing lights, you know, we were his crew, we did all that, we did ADR, we ADR'd the whole thing, special effects. It took us a whole year, but we all worked together, and all of us realized we could never do that again. Just, you know, after you do something like that, and everyone's like, man, that's so impressive, that's so awesome, you know, would you want to work on this? We're like, no.
Nope.
It's not like no because we don't like what we do. It's just like, you know, we need to get paid for our time because we'd be butt poor, and we were during that whole time. All three of us were unemployed during that time.
Wow.
And hopefully that pays off in the long run, but we shall see. We shall see.
Yes.
But I also did a documentary by myself when I was a student. I started it, and then I went out in the real world, and I started shooting. I was working on films for free. I said, screw this. These films are never going to be seen. They're crap, and I'm not getting paid, so I might as well come back and work on my own stuff for free. And so I finished up my documentary, and it won a couple awards. I never really got it out too much because I couldn't fund all the film festivals. And I couldn't get distribution because you look at it and you could see the student film part of it, which is a shame. You know, I mean, I never picked up a film camera before when I went out and shot it. So you could see the amateurish. But at the same time, towards the end, you could see the professionalism too. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of like my growing or my maturity as a filmmaker. But the good thing is every year something comes up because it's about like an event during during a date. So it's about like the November 3rd anti-Klan rally where 5 people were shot and killed, and it happened in Greensboro where I live. So so every year, this year is going to be the 35th anniversary. So 30th. God, I'm jumping ahead. 30th anniversary. So you know, I know I'm going to start getting calls like the week before. I'll be like, oh, do you want to talk about it? And,
so, cool.
Which is great. You know, that's what it's there for. You know, it's there for the people to be informed about what took place. And I'm off that soapbox now. But and I just wanted to, you know, tell you I could relate to, you know, because I'll never do that again. It was so much time. And energy into that, and it was just as much as I enjoy talking to people about it, and you know, people learn from it, and it's just like someone called me. They saw a clip on YouTube, and they called me because I'm very open with my, I guess my profile or my status, and he went to my blog and he saw my phone number and he called me. And he's just like, dude, we have to make this. And I'm like, it's already made. I was like, dude, it's already made. And he's like, no, we have to remake it, man. And he started doing, I'm like, look, that thing is done. I did my part. If you want to do anything with it, feel free to use anything that I did. I was like, I got to move on, man. I'm not about that anymore. I want to do different things. So from the Black Dawn, what was the thing you learned the most from the Black Dawn?
Oh boy, gee, there's a list. There's a lot of things. You know, there are a lot of things that, you know, I walked away thinking like, cool, you know, I did that well. I'm glad we did things that way. A lot of things I walked away thinking, gee, wish we had done that differently. I guess, every filmmaker with every film walks away with a kind of a list of things they can do differently.
Sure.
Let's see, though. If I had to say one thing, I guess for myself as a director, something I can take away and learn for the next film to try and do better on is just always, and it's kind of funny, this is something that I guess I've always known, but each film I make, it's solidified even more, I guess. It's just always know what you want and how. I was going to say how you're going to get it, but no, that's not quite right. Well, yeah, always knowing what you want, and this is going to sound weird, I guess, but like knowing that what you want is like a good thing too.
As far as, go ahead.
Oh yeah. One of the problems with the Black Dawn that, I guess, is noticeable. Actually, I don't know if it's more noticeable if you watch it episodically or as a feature. I don't know. Hard to tell. Anyway, one of the things we noticed halfway through filming it was that, like, the main character didn't have very, like, specific goals. And we really, like, worked hard to, like, kind of write that into the last half of the film, giving him a clear direction. And I guess in that way, kind of tying that into directing, like knowing what, not just what you want, but what your characters want, what they're after, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Always keeping in mind, like, what is everyone trying to get out of the scene, but even more than just that, like, how does what they're trying to get out of the scene contribute to the story, and how can I bring that out in this scene. It's hard for me to articulate.
No, I completely understand. I
Yeah.
completely get what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, all that stuff. I mean, it's funny for me. It's funny, like, even hearing myself saying this, because all this stuff is stuff I would have said before I shot the Black Dawn. If I was giving myself advice, like, all right, William, like, remember this stuff because it's really important. And still, like, I finish the film and think, like, okay.
But be honest, though. I mean, how many hats did you have on during this? You tend to lose focus when you're wearing that many hats.
Yep. And that's actually, like, maybe just to sum it up really quick, is just stay focused. Like, you're trying to make this film that's in your head. Don't lose sight of it. Like, just no matter what other hats you have to put on, or what other, like, people might say during production or before or whatever, like, just you have to be extremely focused in order to really pull together a good film. So, yeah.
Or web series, because, I mean,
yeah,
that villain you had in there, man, he stole the show.
Yeah.
That actor,
Yeah,
he was
awesome.
badass.
Yeah. Well, actually, funny story about that. When he came into audition, Eamon, he came in, and we'd auditioned a few other people for the part of Lee, and there were a couple other that I thought were really good. One in particular where I thought, like, oh, cool, I'm probably going to cast this guy. And Eamon came in, and he was, I'm like, oh, what are you here to audition for? And he's like, oh, I'm here to audition for Lee, I think. And just really, like, soft-spoken and kind of, like, shy. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. We'll all right. And I just kind of sat back, just expecting nothing like all that great, And then suddenly, like, in the audition, he just, like, rocks it, and I was like, whoa, what is this guy doing? he transforms. You wouldn't really think it, but, like, just a few seconds before I'd call action, and this happens a lot when unfortunately, when you're doing these rushed shoots like this, you don't. A lot of times, I wish I would have time to let actors really like take time and like get into a scene before we start,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he'd be laughing and joking, and I'd just be like, all right, we got to shoot it. Ready? Roll camera. All right, rolling. Action. And it was just like within seconds, he was just transformed into a totally different person. And it's really funny because just talking with him, he's this, real nice, great guy. And I mean, obviously, no actors are really quite as bad as bad guys they portray in movies. But
right.
His personality is very different. But yeah, I was really, really impressed with him, and not just with these moments where he plays this real angry, just chilling person like when he kills Fox, but also some of the depth he's able to show.
Mm-hmm.
Like in times when he's talking with his sister,
Yeah.
who helps Adam out, and there's that scene that they have where he tells her, he can't believe she was helping him, and and you kind of sense that, oh, he's a human too,
Right.
and
Like he's not going to kill his sister.
No, and you can tell, like he likes his sister, but he's still a messed up guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I was really, really impressed with his ability to just kind of like to just nail these different scenes that were really, really difficult. Like, well, the scene when he shot Fox and he kills Fox, we shot that about 4 a.m. And we were just exhausted, and I just thought like we had already shot the scene where they were burning the bodies, which was kind of a really difficult scene for me to shoot because it required visual effects, and I'm the last person to talk to when it comes to visual effects, so I was just really nervous that it wasn't going to work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just not wanting to shoot the scene where he killed Fox because that's a real pivotal scene in the story. It's a really big, important one, and a lot of times my limit is 1 to 1.5 like big scenes like that per day because they're so emotionally and mentally taxing on me. But yeah, we just rolled the camera on that scene, and like everyone watched it, and everyone was standing below him in the stairwell, and when he was doing his little monologue, we all just pretty much peed our pants. Like it was just so he really, really just delivered. It was pretty awesome. So
now, did you guys use blanks or?
No, it was all just effects. So
Okay.
we, since we were shooting on a college campus and all, we couldn't use any actual like blanks or anything like that. And didn't want to in case it might scare someone. So
Because I really like the sound of the bullets that you guys used.
oh, cool.
Like we used some things and it sounded good, but it just sounded a little bit more authentic, like just a really good bang. So
Cool, good, yeah. We some of them we got from a sound effects library, some of them we made ourselves. So not quite sure how they made the ones the homemade gunshot sound effects. I think it was just by like banging on like trash can lids or metal
cool.
walls or something like that. Yeah. So yep. Oftentimes it's the best.
Yeah, no doubt. So so after Black Dawn was finished, like how long did you have like after you finished to when you aired it?
Not long. We were pretty much finishing each chapter like, hours before we brought it up. We edited a chapter at a time. All the previous web-series were edited episode by episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the Black Dawn, we experimented with the idea of, releasing a chapter at the beginning of the month, and then the 4 episodes containing that chapter throughout that month. That was a pretty cool experience, getting to edit it all in 20-minute chunks, and it's made, whenever we finish our series, we kind of try and cut them together as feature films.
Right.
That has made that transition a lot easier. So anyway, basically what we were doing is editing each chapter individually, and especially towards the end there, we were really down to the wire, like really, it felt like a TV show, trying to meet the deadline of, the air date and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times it was as soon as we finished, the day after, it'd be up. So
Oh,
there wasn't
man.
a lot of this, finishing it and sitting on it for a year and then finally, airing it. Like we finished shooting it just last fall, so we started writing it like just January of 2008. So, just give you an idea of how quickly it all went.
So where did the catalyst come from?
Yeah, Catalyst was that. I mean, the whole Wilkins backstory of this professor who kind of, gets duped into, or maybe not gets duped into helping this terrorist agency, but becomes aware of this terrorist plan and, inoculates the students. That's something that we, been thinking up from the beginning.
Okay.
And right before we started airing the series, not right before, but about midway through the pre-production phase, Josh came up with the idea of not just airing the Black Dawn as a
Just like a solo
web series, as a solo
itself.
thing, but kind of surrounding and trying to create like this kind of a world so that people aren't just coming and watching a web series, but kind of they can have an experience. They can come on and kind of dig into the characters' backstories, and we could drop hints and stuff in some of these side videos. And so he came up with the idea of having all these different video blogs we could post,
Right.
and with kind of the main video blog being the Adam and Ben Show, where you have this, Adam and his roommate, and the events their backstory leading up to the Black Dawn. And then one of the ideas we had was also not just doing video blogs, but kind of experimenting with a lot, like maybe having a comic book and also like just a short film, so we could have all these different mediums that we could be telling story with.
That's so cool.
And Catalyst, we just figured like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome to do like the prequel story, all this like, the story with Wilkins? Because I mean, when we were discussing backstory with Wilkins, we were like, man, this is cool. Like, there's a lot of like intrigue in this backstory here. So we just thought, let's make a short film of it and throw it up on the website. So Josh helmed that, produced and directed it and did a really good job. I was pretty uninvolved in all of that. The only thing I got to do was because Josh he had to be out of town. I came in and guest directed like the opening scene, the SWAT raid in the beginning. But that was it. I barely touched that whole short film. So it was really fun for me just watching it. A lot of it I'd see for the first time, and it was just like, oh, cool, this is neat. And Josh, wrote it along with Kevin Christensen, I believe, and they just did a really good job. I just thought it turned out really great. So.
Well, I really enjoy it because, I mean, you obviously have gone across platforms and you took, that one story and you definitely made it like a multimedia experience with the comics, and you could tell, and that's the thing I like about it is like you could tell more about that story. And same with Catalyst. And that's something I've always wanted to do before, was to actually create for like a feature film. I wanted to, and this is something I still I have plans for, is for my characters, I want to put them as bloggers and get them to blog about current events, what's going on in their life, and I give them all the character bio, and then they basically get into character by blogging, daily events, and, commenting on each other's blogs like a family, and then go and shoot the film with those, characteristics already embedded into the actors that, they already experience it and know it. So, man,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. And I definitely see like the things that you do, and I'm like, that's awesome. As far as like a filmmaker in a world, like you said, surrounding your idea, it's just so great how much more you can get out of that one idea.
Cool.
And and one other thing. Oh, it's funny. I was in L.A. coming back to Greensboro, and there was this guy that was coming on the plane with me, and he looked just like Adam from Black Dawn.
Oh, really?
And I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, are you an actor in the Black Dawn?" And I've never had a more hateful look than he said, "No." I mean, I thought he was going to punch me if I said another word.
Wow.
So it was crazy.
Oh, it's really funny.
But it's
It's not something you think somebody get angry about, you know. Just like, sorry. Didn't mean that. That's great.
yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But so what's next for you? Like what's the next idea you want to get out there?
Oh boy, I'm not sure. I've been knocking around a few ideas. I have an idea for, maybe a TV show.
Nice.
That my wife and I are writing together, and it's actually like a romantic comedy TV show.
Sweet.
About people at a little podunk radio station and all their fun drama, and they host like a love advice talk show, and anyway, it'd be fun.
Did you see that?
And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you see something on TV? It looked a lot like Black Dawn.
Yeah, I think yes. I believe I saw a preview at one point in time, and I think when we saw the preview, Josh and I looked at each other and like, man, we got to start taking pitching our ideas to studios. I mean, we have pitched a few things here and there, but that just kind of solidified even more. Like, all right,
yeah,
we think our ideas are at a point where it's like we can sell these if we really try, we can do it. So
well, especially if with the resources that you had and the quality and the storytelling that you presented, it's like just imagine what we could do with money where we can afford everything, where we can, and like you said before, you could focus solely on directing, and getting that story across.
That's kind of been my dream since my freshman year of college is, I wish I could just direct someday.
Well, you're getting there, buddy.
Huh?
I said you're getting there, buddy.
Oh, thanks. We'll see. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a few things that I might do next. I do a short film. I don't really know. Right. We're all kind of like everyone at Web Serials. We're all kind of focusing mainly on finishing our films, putting them on DVD, before we go on to the next thing. So in the past, it was always finish a web series and get another one up as soon as possible to keep people coming to the website.
Right.
But the problem is that we're such a small crew that whenever we make a new film, the crew that would be making DVDs is now making another series.
How big's your crew?
Let me see. It's about, I'd say like maybe 6 or 7 guys maybe, but that we're kind of divided all, making our own separate web series. Like when they were finishing up editing on Cataclysma 2, me and myself and Abe were filming Black Dawn.
Okay.
And so, up until this point, we've always kind of been working on separate things. And now I think is a time where, I don't know, we might all kind of come together and do something all together.
Sure.
Or I'm not quite sure. We're kind of in a mode right now where we're trying very hard to kind of pick the best story idea, that we all have, and really, like, all of us
go all out.
Kind of team up and combine our powers.
Makes sense. I mean,
yep.
Instead of going all directions and doing things half-assed, and you haven't, but when you're lacking the whole thing, just go for it. It's like, let's all come together and just knock it out, and let's take this seriously. And we're going through the same phase with our stuff. Like, I've been doing a web series, Corporate Assassin, and it's at first it was just for fun, and now it's kind of like, all right, I got to start getting some views, or I'm doing this for nothing. And a lot of people have invested their time and energy into doing this, and I got to give them respect and work my tail off to get them noticed. Or But so what kind of response have you gotten from Web Serials? I mean, it's a really cool site. Is that all owned by the same people?
Yep. Yeah, it's all us. Josh designed it. He started it. He's been assembling this team. The original 3, I guess, guys behind it were Josh, Anthony, and Kevin. they've just kind of been drawing people in. I kind of jumped in with Cataclysmal. I thought, if web serials is successful at doing what it's trying to do, I'd love to be a part of it. So I just kind of jumped on board and started making web series with them, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's all just owned by the same people. It's all us. So
what kind of traffic you guys getting?
I actually don't really know that. Josh Sikora, he kind of manages all that, and I don't really know.
Well, you guys got a killer.
Yeah.
You got a killer name. I mean, web serials. It's such a perfect.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's the name of what it is. It's perfect.
Exactly.
So, yeah, our biggest challenge really is just marketing.
Yeah.
Getting the word out, getting people to come to our site. YouTube used to feature a lot of our videos, a lot of our episodes, and we would get a lot of traffic then. Apparently, a while back, they kind of started featuring web serials a little bit less. I think they kind of went out of fashion a year ago or so. And so...
Yeah, now they have real TV shows and movies, so...
Yeah, exactly. So, we're still, as far as I understand it, the amount of subscribers we have on YouTube, it's still increasing. The amount of traffic we have on our site, I think, has been kind of steady, but we've kind of plateaued for a while, I think. So
Gotcha.
we're kind of, we're figuring out, we're trying to figure out some kind of a new way, basically, to get people to come to our site and watch our shows. So,
well, outstanding.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Well, William, I appreciate your time spending with me. I hope the best for you and all your crew with web serials. It's been fun watching, and I'm really excited for the future. I think you guys are a given if anyone gives you a shot.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I mean, it's not. I'm not just saying this to kiss up or this is something that I want to do also in the industry, and we're starting to make waves for ourselves, and I want to, invite the people who to bring along. And it's not like, hey, I'm up here, come along. But I recognize talent, and I want you guys, the best success for you guys as well. So, if we make it, our friends are going to make it, because, that's how it works in Hollywood. And it's not like you're my friend, I'm going to bring you along. You're a talented filmmaker. and a great mind. So I'm just looking forward to seeing some more your work down the future, down the road, and just keep in touch, man. Just hats off to you, and congratulations on all your hard work.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'd like to thank William once again for joining me for this conversation. I enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to his next web series, short film, feature film, anything that comes to his plate. So, guys over at Web Serials, congratulations again, and good job, and looking forward to seeing you and possibly working with you in the future. So here's a cool thing that happened. Almost 13 years after this interview, was it 13 years? It was 2008? 15 years. It was 15 years after I did this interview with William that I actually had an opportunity to work with him. He had a side gig, came up to San Jose, where I live. He shot a feature film. I came down to set, we talked real quick. And 6 months later, I had the opportunity to hire a video crew to come in and shoot a product launch for the company that I work for. And I thought of William and his incredible lighting and his filmmaking. He came up with his crew, and it was fantastic. And I have to say this, if you're a company and you want to take it a notch above what you normally do, and you might work with outside video production companies, and they're fine. They're really good to work with, and they get the job done. But if you want to take it to that next level, I highly suggest you reach out to independent filmmakers to bring in their crew and to work with you, because that's the thing that they do, is they pay attention to details. They make sure that the shots are right. They make sure that the lighting looks beautiful. The set design is incredible. The hair, makeup, and wardrobe all work together, and plus having a professional sound guy makes everything kind of come together. So having grips, gaffer, lighting, but having that set of people together to work that already have the chemistry, it will change your production and it will go to that next level that you never even dreamed of. Based on my experience working with William and his team, first hire them. If you can't, look into your own set of filmmakers in your area, but also vet. Find people that can vet for them and make sure that they can do the job that you're looking for. If it's a big project, take your time and see what they develop. Thank you for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. William's dedication to visual storytelling has enriched the art of cinematography, created images that resonate deeply with audiences, and his commitment to crafting meaningful visuals continues to inspire both peers and aspiring filmmakers. He also joined up with Blackmagic Design, shot and recorded for their new camera, the Pixis camera, as well as he does some things for Aperture Lights. And the one thing that I really admire about William since this podcast and watching him grow as a professional and also as a really talented director of photography is how he understands lighting and how lighting really helps him develop the stories in his films. So I can't wait to update this podcast and do another one in the future with William, and he said he's on board for that. So we'll be doing a video podcast with William and share some examples of his work. But his short film Alone in 2020 has been featured on Dust on YouTube and was an official selection at the Edmonton Film Festival. Additionally, his Civil War short film Dixieland in 2023, starring Tony Todd, who recently passed away last year, screened at LA Shorts International, Holly Shorts, and FilmQuest. Now, if you want to explore some of William's work and stay updated on his latest projects, you can visit his website at williamhellmuth.online. If you'd like to get to know my work, visit talentfreaks.com to see some of the videos that I've worked on, as well as the photography that I'm currently doing and so much in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. And if you have suggestions for future guests or topics, feel free to reach out. I'm always eager to bring new and exciting conversations to the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.